Denny, thank you so much for that. It was beautiful. Thank you all for coming to our Wear Orange event, in which we honor the victims and the survivors of gun violence. For those I haven't met yet, my name is Beth Fine, and I'm the Arlington Local Group Lead for Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America. I need to start by thanking everyone who helped us to get here. Thank you to Everytown for Gun Safety's cultural project funding to make this idea a reality, to JBG for the use of this space, to Arlington County, particularly the Department of Parks and Recreation for your guidance, the space for the park, the soil, the water, and the garden, and all of the know-how to make the garden happen, and to all of our wonderful, incredible Moms Demand Action volunteers for supplying flowers and labor and so much love to get us to this point. I'd like to recognize our community partners, the Arlington County Council of PTAs, Arlington County Public Schools, the Virginia chapter of the American Association of Pediatrics, the Arlington chapters of Students Demand Action, the NAACP, the League of Women Voters, and the American Association of University Women. We'd also like to thank our business partners, Stacy Snyder Pottery, Covet, The Cookery, and Orlando James Personal Training. I'd like to recognize the elected officials who are here, Barbara Cannonen, Reed Goldstein from the Arlington County School Board, Chair Christian Dorsey, Katie Crystal, Matt DeFerenti, and Eric Goodshaw from the Arlington County Board. Delegates Rip Sullivan, Alfonso Lopez, and Patrick Hope from the Virginia House of Delegates. Thank you all for being here. As we can see, this was a group effort, and that's how we're going to make change. Today, on the 5th National Gun Violence Awareness Day, we wear orange because it's the color that Hadiya Pendleton's friends wore in her honor after she was shot and killed in a Chicago park at the age of 15. The color orange honors her and the 100 lives cut short and the hundreds more wounded by gun violence every day. I'm going to say that again. 100 people die from gun violence in this country every day. That's such a big number that I need to break it down. About 2/3 of those are suicides. And according to the American Association of Suicidology, access to guns by those in crisis raises the risk that a suicide attempt will be fatal. Suicide attempts by gun result in death 85 to 95% of the time, compared to just 3% for the next most lethal method. Of the remaining third, a few other numbers. 50 women a month are killed by firearms in domestic violence situations. Roughly 1 child per day loses their life because of guns in the home that aren't properly stored, locked up separately from ammunition. Nearly 7,500 Black Americans die by gun homicide every year, a rate 10 times higher than that of white Americans. Over 10,300 hate crimes are perpetrated with a firearm annually, more than 28 each day, and the vast majority of hate crimes are directed against communities of color, religious minorities, and LGBTQ people. And this year alone, we've experienced 159 mass shootings, the most recent of which was not Virginia Beach. So now we know what we're up against. It's hard work, and it feels so relentless. Lest these numbers make you feel like there is no point to this work, let me also remind you of a few recent wins. We now have extreme risk protection orders in 15 states. We have background check laws in 2 more states. We've blocked bad bills like guns in schools, permitless carry, guns on college campuses, and stand your ground laws in state legislatures all over the country. And so today, we honor victims and survivors. We think about our friends, our families, and our communities. We raise our voices to remember their names. Hadia, my friend Damon, Johan, Ruth Ann, Sarah, Randy, Sean, the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh, the Borderline Bar in Thousand Oaks, the STEM School in Highlands Ranch, my hometown, Virginia Beach. And we resolve to keep working for change. The inaction of those who oppose common sense gun laws is literally killing us. We need everyone to step up and do their part. Do not take no for an answer. We will not let the vocal minority of people who oppose common sense measures overpower our voices any longer. And so this year, the Arlington local group of Moms Demand Action has taken on an ambitious project to plant hope in the form of a beautiful, orange flower-filled pollinator garden. We are taking our frustration and our sadness and our pain, and we are using that energy to look ahead to better times. We are coming together as a community to build something beautiful and lasting. And what a community this is. We asked Arlington County Board Chair Christian Dorsey what he thought about our idea, and he took us on a walk to pick out our location. We met with Jane and Kurt from the Department of Parks and Rec, and they helped walk us through this process. When talking about the how, Parks and Rec's Patrick Wegging has been instrumental in getting soil, water, mulch, and thoughtful design to our Hope Garden. When we needed advice on... We owe Patrick a lot. When we needed advice on how to, garden, Master Gardener Kate Donahue stepped up to help with both short and long-term design. And our members have just been incredible. For our first dig, we had 24 moms volunteers, that's mothers and others, just to be clear, show up to turn our turf into a garden. When we needed a few extra plants or to water those plants until the roots grew to support them, or to find the know-how to make this idea a reality, our members showed up. After all, as any gardener knows, it takes perseverance to create something beautiful. Sometimes we make a mistake. Not enough water, or too much water. But we know that we need to keep going if we want to see the plants take root. And so it is with our movement. We make mistakes, but we learn. We know that when we fail forward. We honor with action. We know that we need to cultivate the community we want to see, and that if it isn't us doing the work, who will do it? We've asked people to come together to paint rocks as well, to honor the lives of those we've lost. We're using those rocks as a beautiful reminder of the people we love, and as a way to heal and look forward. Some have names of people or places. Some have designs, like a heart, a rainbow, or a wave. All are heartfelt expressions of hope for a future free of gun violence. The Hope Garden is an expression of our love for our community and a visible commitment to keep going. As we keep the garden growing, so too will our movement grow, and our hope will become reality. Let this garden inspire you to keep showing up, to get the work done, and to honor victims with action. And now I'd like to introduce Carmen Lodato. Carmen is an Everytown Survivor Fellow, a member of our Arlington local group, and the Center Director for Music Together Alexandria, a business her mother, Ruth Ann Lodato, started. She's here today to speak about her mother.
Thank you so much to Beth for inviting me to speak to you all tonight. My name is Carmen Lodato, and I grew up in a quiet neighborhood just a few miles away in Alexandria. My home was always a hub for friends and family. My mom, Ruth Ann, taught piano lessons from our house, so a steady stream of smiling children and parents came through each afternoon. My grandma moved in with us when I was 10, so aunts, uncles, and cousins also came in and out. 2419 Ridge Road Drive was a safe and happy home, full of music and laughter, until it wasn't. On February 6th, my mom's life was cut short by gun violence, and my life and the lives of all who knew her were forever changed. I was out of the country, studying abroad in Europe for a semester when my mom was killed. While waiting in a customs line in a London airport, a friend told me I needed to call home right away. I had a horrible feeling in my stomach as I started calling the house phone and my mom's cell, but I had no idea the horror that was to come. A friend recently said that she would never forget the guttural scream that came from my body when I heard the news. I learned via phone that my mom had answered the front door of our home and was shot multiple times by a felon who shouldn't have been able to access a gun. Through the heroism of my 89-year-old grandmother's caregiver, who was shot and wounded and got my grandmother to safety, a composite sketch was made and the killer was eventually arrested and prosecuted. He killed 2 other Alexandrians over the span of 11 years. He will spend the rest of his life in prison, but I will spend the rest of my life without my mom. My story is just one part of this unique American tragedy. Gun violence ravages too many families and neighborhoods. It disproportionately affects communities of color and marginalized groups, including the LGBTQ community. Before my mom was killed, I thought gun violence was something that happened to others. Not me, not my family, not my mom. I know now that it doesn't matter how nice your neighborhood is, where you go to school, what job you have, what God you worship, what color your skin is, or how much money you have. Gun violence doesn't discriminate. It can impact any one of us, and it does, every day. Each year, we see tragic statistics that represent thousands of lives cut short and forever changed by gun violence. We know there are 22,000 suicides by gun each year. We know at least 2,700 women are shot to death by an intimate partner. We know more than 12,000 homicides are with a gun. And we know firearms are the leading cause of death for Black children and teens. But we don't have to live like this. And I hope for a future when we won't have to. I hope for a country where we don't have assault weapons. I hope for a future where each person who buys a gun goes through a criminal background check and safely stores their gun away from children or anyone in crisis who shouldn't have access to a firearm. And I have hope for a country where no one is afraid to go to a concert, to a movie, to a bar, to school, work, church, mosque, synagogue, and that they feel safe in their homes and in their neighborhoods. And I will fight for that day to come. Wear Orange is a time to celebrate the hope that we can end gun violence in this country. Today, I am full of hope that together with the strength and determination represented by each one of you standing in front of me, we can create a future where every American lives free from gun violence. My mom was the kind of person who always did the right thing, even when it was hard. She loved giving her time and talents to help others. I believe if this had happened to someone else in my family, my mom would have made it her mission to make sure that this happens to no one else. That is why I do this work, to honor her. Audrey Hepburn said, "To plant a garden is to believe in tomorrow." Today, we have planted a garden of hope to remind us that we must keep going in this important work. Let this garden be a reminder for you of this crucial fight we are in to save lives. Let it grow every day as our movement grows across the country, led by moms, students, and marginalized communities working for all of us. It is too late for my mom and for 99 others who died on February 6, 2014, and every day since. But we have a chance to save the lives of Americans tomorrow and every day after. Moms Demand Action and Everytown for Gun Safety are fighting at the local, state, and federal levels and mobilizing advocates all over the country to end gun violence. I know that my mom is here with me tonight. Please join me in speaking her name out loud. Ruth Ann.
Ruth Ann.
Now if you would take out your phones and honor survivors and victims of gun violence with action by texting HONOR to 64433. That's HONOR to 64433. Thank you.
Carmen, thank you so much. First, I also wanted to recognize, well, everyone's busy, so I'll give you 2 seconds. Good job, everybody, for listening to Carmen. That's important. I'd also like to recognize Theo Stamos, who is our Commonwealth's attorney. Thank you for being here, Theo. Mr. Christian Dorsey is the chair of the Arlington County Board. Christian has long been a supporter of gun violence prevention, even before being elected to the county board in 2015. I'd also like to make a special note that we received several of our rocks from the Dorsey family, so thank you for the contribution, Christian.
Thank you, Beth. Carmen, thank you for those remarks. Gotta be honest, I am of many minds here tonight. One, overwhelmed at how this event continues to grow and the outpouring of support from the community. But two, very much chastened by the events of this past week, where at a municipal center, not similar in form, but certainly similar in function to what is just behind us, community, Virginia Beach, had to endure the senseless slaughter of people who worked as public servants. And in this building for the past week, we've had many county employees who have been forced to pause and ponder and reflect on whether or not it could happen here. And as I walk the halls of the government building this week, there are various stages of anxiety among the people who work there, with some not thinking about whether it can happen here, but just wondering when. That's where we are in this country. And I recognize, for all the anxiety that I've seen here in Arlington, that anxiety is going to fade. Yet for the people who are family members to those senselessly slaughtered in Virginia Beach, their grief is going to remain forever. Our world is irreparably harmed by not having those individuals and the unknown contributions that they could have made to our world. We have to repeat this cycle over and over and over again. Now I'm thrilled, and hopefully, as we'll hear from Rip Sullivan, our legislators are going to be going to Richmond with a very special mission to see what they can do in Virginia to change this narrative. And make no mistake, the suite of proposals that are going to be before them, dealing with silencers and magazine capacity, hopefully bringing greater local authority to regulate guns and to pursue gun prevention, gun violence prevention, universal background checks, monthly limits on firearms purchases, and increasing red flag laws. These are all important initiatives. But we do have to ask ourselves, why has it taken so much? Why have we had to lose so much to get to these very common sense ways of regulating violence in our society? It is striking, it's even more striking, that our communities have had to endure the senseless slaughter of those we consider the most precious and innocent in our society, children, knowing all the while that our country has shown when children are threatened, we have a remarkable ability to step up. The stories are well known. At one point in this country, unintended poisonings were a problem. Our country responded. Poison control centers, making sure we pursued technology, simple technology like child-proof caps, so that we didn't have to have the preventable deaths of children. Childhood cancers something so incredibly devastating for family. At one point, there was a form of leukemia that was almost 100% fatal, and in less than 5 decades, it has a 90% cure rate. We stepped up when children were threatened. Motor vehicle deaths. When we saw the disproportionate effect that it had on young lives, we pursued seatbelt laws, child seat carrier laws, to make sure those preventable deaths were minimized. Yet when it comes to preventable deaths from gun violence, which are second alone only to motor vehicle deaths in terms of the impact on children and losing children's lives, we've done nothing. It is an embarrassment and it's a stain on our country. But one of the reasons I'm heartened is because each and every year, the community of people who gather to say, we get it, we're tired of it, and we're not going to accept it anymore, it grows. And this is the way forward. This is the reason why my wife and I, Rachel, bring our children, Jordan and Mila, to this event every year, because I want them to remember, at one point in the future, when we can look at when this country turned the page in terms of how we dealt with gun violence, they can say we were a part of it. We did our part. We stood with the community of caring people who said enough is enough. I hope that is a memory that you have for the rest of your lives. It will happen. I know it will. And I'll just simply say in closing, it's typical at events such as these for me to present a proclamation, or whomever is presiding from the board, a proclamation commemorating this day, June 7th, as Gun Violence Awareness Day. I have that proclamation. Don't worry, it's legit. I've signed it. It's great. But we don't need the proclamation to make this event august and meaningful. It's made meaningful by all of you being here. That's the important thing, and I thank you very much for it. And hopefully, when we convene again next year, it is because these folks and the governor and everybody else pursuing an agenda of common sense gun laws has made some progress that we desperately all need. Thank you.
Thank you, Christian, for your wonderful words and also for your proclamation. I appreciate both. Rip Sullivan is the delegate from the 48th District. He was first elected in 2014, and the 2019 session saw him introducing an extreme risk protection order bill. His defense of every attack on that bill was inspirational. Nonetheless, it was voted down in committee, not even making it to the floor. Rip, thank you for your work on that bill, and I look forward to seeing it pass within the year.
Thank you, Beth. About 10 days ago, I was looking forward on my calendar to sort of see what was coming up, and candidly had forgotten this was coming up. I realized, okay, about 10 days we're going to be doing this event out in front of the Government Center. And I started to think about what I might say, and I decided I would start by reciting a list with which we're all so familiar, or at least part of a list. Columbine, Parkland, Sandy Hook, Pittsburgh, Charleston, Virginia Tech. And then last week happened, and the list got longer. Now we have a list that's just particularly heartbreaking, where 2 of its entries start with the word Virginia, Virginia Tech, Virginia Beach. Virginia, a commonwealth of leaders, needs to lead the way. And you folks here tonight are part of how we're going to lead the way. We have been, every time one of these happens, but particularly last week, so close to home, we have been called to action, both figuratively and, has been pointed out, literally. Governor Northam has summoned us back to Richmond. And on July 9th, mark that date down, Patrick and Alfonso and the rest of the Arlington delegation will be headed back to Richmond to see if we can't get Virginia back to leading the way on such a crucial issue. Everyone wants to know whether we're going to be able to pull it off. Everyone in this crowd, Beth told you what happened when I introduced an extreme risk protective order bill, and Patrick had a bill, and Alfonso had a bill. We all had bills advancing the ball on gun safety. They were all killed at a 7:30 a.m. subcommittee meeting that was over in about an hour. Are we going to meet the same fate on July 9th? No. You know, I am a congenital optimist. Anyone who knows me will tell you that. And I'm really hopeful about what's going to happen on July 9th. But I have to tell you that the Speaker and the Majority Leader have already issued statements that shake my confidence, that make clear that they're not really interested in the reasons that the Governor has called this special meeting. It's never been clear to me why a group that claims to be so protective of life can stand so silent in the face of such unspeakable death. But we are going to go to Richmond, and we are going to take the issues, we are going to take the facts, we are going to take the fight to the floor and get votes on all of these bills. It just breaks my heart to see Virginia falling behind. Beth talked about how 15 other states have extreme risk protective order bills. An extreme risk protective order, without getting too down in the weeds, is simply a bill that would allow family members or friends who are worried about a loved one, he or she is in some crisis, worried that a loved one might hurt him or herself or others. It would create a way for those concerned people to go to the authorities and have a judge enter an order taking, at least temporarily, guns away from that person, saving lives. The research shows that these bills save lives. I've introduced this bill 3 years in a row, and 3 times it has gone down to defeat. The governor has a different view. The governor is calling us back to say, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Majority Leader, the rest of the majority that controls the General Assembly, it is time to act right now. And I will tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that while I'm optimistic and we're going to fight like the Dickens to get these bills passed, if it doesn't happen, well, it turns out we have a little election this November. Everyone's a little jazzed about the school board election that's ongoing, right, Reed? And everyone's a little jazzed about the primary on Tuesday, and everyone's already thinking about 2020. November 5th of 2019 is when we take back the General Assembly. And if nothing good happens on July 9th, by your votes here in Arlington and probably more importantly elsewhere in the Commonwealth, we can make things happen in the General Assembly next year. So I want you to circle a few dates on your calendar. July 9, I'm told some of you are coming down, is that right? Come on down and let them hear you. And we, as your members of the General Assembly, will try to make you proud. If it doesn't go our way, November 5, ladies and gentlemen. November 5, we're going to take back the General Assembly, and then we will pass these bills. Thank you for being here. It's great to see you. Keep it going.
Rip, thank you so much. I can't wait to see your triumphant return to Arlington once that bill has been passed. Thank you all so much for listening and for being a part of the movement. Now I'd like to invite everyone to come over to our garden. So if you will just go this way, we are going to dedicate our new garden. Thanks so much.